right, episode 2. So, today we're going to talk about an Italian film that translates to The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. You can see the bird there on the Italian release poster. And here's the American release poster, which in my opinion is nowhere near as interesting, but you can see there it says The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I don't know Italian, so I'm not going to try and pronounce that in Italian. So this is a giallo film. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. This is Dario Argento's directorial debut. Now, I enjoy Dario Argento's work quite a bit, at least what I've seen, which is a fair chunk of it. This is his first directed movie. Before this, he wrote a few movies, various genres for Italian cinema. But he came out here with this giallo film, which giallo means yellow in Italian. And there were these Italian murder mystery books that were yellow in color. And a few years before this, about 6 years before this, Mario Bava put out Blood and Black Lace. Well, that was the American title. The Italian title translated to 6 Women for the Assassin, which I like that name better. That is an amazing movie. It came out in 1964. It was beautiful, vibrant colors. The story was excellent. The mystery was excellent. I didn't know who the killer was. There were so many possible suspects in that movie, and I really didn't know who it was until the end. So I enjoyed that a lot. I watched that to see what has been called the first giallo film. And that set a very high bar. Now, Dario Argento is one of the most popular in America directors of this genre. He's probably most popular for Suspiria. Suspiria is kind of a giallo film, but there's other stuff going on. There's a supernatural element in that, whereas there is not a supernatural element in many other giallo films, including this one. So this is his first. We start the movie off with an American who's visiting Rome with his girlfriend, and he's a writer, and he's trying to get some writing done. And he's walking down the street, and what's this? He notices an attempted murder happening in an art gallery. And in the art gallery is a full glass front, so he can see. He goes in there and tries to help the woman who is being attacked. But there's these weird glass doors, and he cannot get in there. And he gets trapped between the entrance and the exit, really. And luckily, the girl survives, and the police arrive, and of course, this guy's in there, and so he's now a suspect. So I am not going to get into any spoilers beyond that opening part until later in the video, so you can keep watching. So he decides that he wants to know who the killer is, and he has to go through and figure it out. Of course, the audience is also trying to figure out who the killer is. So it's pretty good. I like the characters. I wouldn't say it's as good as Blood and Black Lace if we're going to compare, which some people would probably say you shouldn't compare, but I would not agree with that idea. I mean, it's a giallo film, it's Italian, and a lot of people say that Dario Argento is like the main giallo guy, at least in America, but we got to compare it to the OG Blood and Black Lace. There aren't as many suspects in this one, but I still wasn't really sure who the killer was. So until it came down to it. And the acting was good. In Blood and Black Lace, I think everyone spoke Italian, and then it got dubbed into English, and then they couldn't really find anyone to do the English dubbing that was a very good actor. So that movie didn't do well because I don't even know if the actors are trying to speak English, so there's not like a true Italian track. The Italian track would have been dubbed as well, which was pretty common for Italian movies for a long time. We're talking 60s, 70s. I know in the 80s they did the same thing. They're dubbing everything. They didn't even record the audio as the actors were acting it out, which is strange. But, well, not strange for them, but strange probably for us. So anyway, that one didn't do well. The acting seems very bad because it's Italian people trying to speak in English. But in this one, the main character is American. So when he talks, it lines up. What he's saying, you can tell he's saying it. Most of the rest of the characters are speaking Italian in the movie, and then they get dubbed over. But the dubbed acting isn't that bad. So everything's more believable here, which kind of makes it stronger in that sense. Although in the story sense, I would say isn't quite as strong. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the details here. So you may want to pause the video, go watch the movie, and then come back. But my favorite part, my favorite little detail in the movie is that, you know, we're talking about an art gallery here. And one of the clues, which I thought was really cool, was that one of the women that was killed, there are many, one of the women that was killed, she is killed right after selling a painting. And the painting is a painting of a woman being killed. So the main character, the American guy who's just decided he's going to become a detective now, he goes in there and he tries and tracks down this painting. So he finds where the painting was sold, he talks to the art dealer, and then he finds out who the artist was and he goes to see the artist. Now, this is my favorite part. He goes and finds the artist. The artist's front door, and only door to his apartment, has been bricked over. So you can't go into his apartment. So the main character calls up to this guy, and the guy's like, what do you want? And he said, I want to buy a painting. I want to buy a painting. So the artist throws down like a 20-foot ladder, like it's nothing. He just throws down this ladder. We have our protagonist climb up there. The artist is fucking wacko. He's a weirdo. And so they're talking a little bit, and he's pretending like he wants to buy some art, but really he wants to ask about that other piece. And he asks about the other piece. The artist's like, oh, I don't do stuff like that anymore. I only drew that, I only painted that because that really happened to me. A friend of mine was attacked, and I went to go save her, and then, you know, I drew it. So that's that. So that's like a major clue. Now, while he is talking to this guy, the guy offers him some food. And this is the type of thing I love in any movie. This bit has nothing to do with the plot, but it's just memorable and crazy. And he's offering him the food. The guy's eating the food. And then they go into this other room so that he can buy a painting. And so when he goes into this other room to get the painting, which is all dusty, he blows the dust off. In this room is a bunch of cats caged. And so the protagonist says, why do you keep all these cats in a cage? There's like 20 cats in here. And he's like, oh, because I want them to get fat. And he's like, why do you want them to get fat? And he goes, so I can eat them. And so the main character's like, oh, why would you eat them? He's like, why wouldn't you eat them? You don't like cat? And he's like, well, I don't know. I've never eaten it before. And then he realized he's just eaten it. So it doesn't affect the plot, but it just makes the movie that much more memorable. A couple other things I like in the art gallery, which we return to later in the movie, during the finale, the climax. The art in there, which you do notice at the beginning of the movie, the art looks dangerous. Like, it looks like the art could kill you. So even though I'm, you know, we're talking about spoilers, I'm not going to spoil the final stuff. Because, you know, even if you're watching now, you can still go back and watch it. But this dangerous art comes into play. Also, I am going to talk about why the movie is called The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, because a lot of giallo films have these really long, strange names that you maybe wouldn't see in an American film. So it's called that because the killer's making these phone calls trying to disguise his or her voice. And there's this weird noise in the background. And they don't know what it is. And it's funny, you've got these Italian detectives they got all these machines, but it's 1970, so these machines are like as big as the room. They're trying to figure out what the sound is. They've got like 100 different things. They're trying to make the noise copy the sound. Well, it turns out that the sound in the background of the call is the bird with the crystal plumage. It's a special kind of bird. So that, you know, that really doesn't give away any plot twists or anything like that. But, you know, hopefully I didn't just ruin it for those of you who decided to watch the spoilers. But yeah, so that bird does come into play. It's not just some obscure name. Like in Blood and Black Lace, there's no black lace in that movie. Of course, that's not what it's really called. It's called Six Women for the Assassin. There are 6 women for the assassin in the movie, so that made more sense. But, you know, like we talked about in the past issue, I Drink Your Blood, I Eat Your Skin. Sometimes these movies, 1970, the titles, they don't match anything that's going on in the movie. They're just trying to grab you. So in this one, it matches, although it is not a major part of the movie. So I would recommend this. I would give this an 8 out of 10. If this was the first giallo film ever, I'd probably give it a higher score, but, you know, it's 6 years deep into the genre at this point. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Held my attention the whole time, liked the characters. I didn't say a rating for I Drink Your Blood, but we're going to say I Drink Your Blood, 9 out of 10. Almost perfect within context. I Drink Your Blood could have had a little bit better acting, I think, to push it up to perfect, but it was pretty close. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.